So the shutdown has affected the entire US. Let's take a look at some of the key sectors that have been hit. Over 380,000 US government workers have been granted leave of absence and not being paid. Around 420,000 US government employees are working without pay. Tens of thousands of contractors who rely on the US federal government but are not full-time employees are not being paid and are less likely to receive arrears. US federal contractors could be losing a combined $200 million per day. Thousands of Secret Service agents are working without pay, putting America at the risk of security lapses. Public lands and national parks are struggling to handle the trash and waste from visitors. Dozens of open-air national parks are open during the government shutdown, but with minimal staff to carry out basic operations. And pending company mergers are being slowed because the Securities and Exchange Commission is not fully staffed. It could adversely impact the American economy. America's Justice Ministry has asked for a delay on a lawsuit that could invalidate the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare, under which millions obtain health insurance. A program that provides food assistance to more than 7 million low-income pregnant women, new mothers and young children has funding to last through January. Border Patrol agents are still working but without pay. Some Border Patrol officers have sued the Trump government over the missing pay. About 41,000 active duty Coast Guardsmen who are working without pay and are unsure when they will see their next paychecks were told that they should consider having garage sales. And wildfire prep work and firefighter training have been halted as several thousand US Forest Service workers are furloughed. So US President Donald Trump has slammed the New York Times report on the FBI probe in Russia meddling case. Now, Trump justifies firing James Comey and also claimed that he has been far tougher on Russia than any other US president. In his latest tweet, Trump has come out in the defense of ties with Russia. He said, and I quote, "I have been far tougher on Russia than Obama, Bush or Clinton, maybe tougher than any other president. At the same time, and as I have often said, getting along with Russia is a good thing, not a bad thing. I fully expect that someday we will have good relations with Russia again," unquote. In a series of other tweets, Trump slammed the report and I quote, "Wow, just learned in the failing New York Times that the corrupt former leaders of the FBI, almost all fired or forced to leave the agency for some very bad reasons, opened up an investigation on me for no reason and with no proof after I fired Lion James Comey, a total sleaze," unquote. Now, in another tweet, Trump blamed Comey's leadership for bringing turmoil in the FBI, calling his firing of Comey was a great day for America. He even went on to call Comey a crooked cop who was being shielded by Bob Mueller and 13 Democrats. According to a report in the New York Times, it has emerged that the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the U.S. began an investigation against the President of the U.S., Donald Trump, just days after him being elected. The investigation sought to establish whether Donald Trump was either actively or unwittingly working for the Russians against U.S. interests. Now, the New York Times quotes sources in the FBI who had grown concerned over the actions of the president after the shock sacking of the FBI director, James Comey. Investigation also looked into whether the sacking of James Comey amounted to obstruction of justice. The inquiry was later taken over by a special counsel, Robert Mueller, when he was appointed days after the FBI started the investigation. Now, according to the report, the FBI had grown suspicious of Trump's ties to Russia during the presidential campaign of 2016. The FBI's counterintelligence department, which looks into matters of national security, had initiated a probe but had been hampered in the investigation as the case was a very sensitive one.